So what I will do is first explain to you what the mandate of this commission is. Then I'll tell you about our meeting with the government of Odisha this morning and some further details, and then we'll have some questions and answers. First of all, the commission's job is to, very broadly speaking, make recommendations on how to divide the union's tax revenues between the central government and the state governments. That is called the vertical devolution. And then whatever is the share of the states, how to divide that between among the 28 different states. That is called the horizontal devolution. Now, stepping back a little bit further, the way the full tax system works in India is that there are certain taxes that go directly to the state governments. So, for example, state GST, SGST, that goes directly to the state government. Then any taxes on liquor are levied and collected by the state. Similarly, any taxes on petrol, value-added tax on petrol, for example, is levied and collected by the state. So that some of these taxes go directly to the state. Similarly, there are few taxes that go directly to the central government. Anything that's related to any tax revenues that are related to the union territories, they go straight to the central government. Any cesses and surcharges that the central government levies, they also go directly, all of it, to the central government. The rest of the union taxes, union tax revenues, including income tax, corporation tax, custom duties, etc., states' share of the GST, the center's share of the GST called CGST, center share in IGST, they all go into a common pool. This pool is what is called the divisible pool, and this is the one that this commission recommends how it should be divided between the center and the states, and then how should the state share be divided among the states. So on vertical devolution, 15th Finance Commission, which preceded this commission, had recommended that 41% should go to the states and remaining 59% should go to the central government. And that becomes the part of the central government's revenues, and states' share then is further divided through this horizontal devolution among the 28 states. Okay, and that is now the commission also makes some other grants. There are grants to the third tier of the government system, meaning the Panchayati Raj institutions and municipal institutions in urban areas. So that's one set of grants. Second set of grants are given on for disaster relief, and that is related to the SDRF, the state disaster relief fund. And then occasionally the commission can also award grants which are called either the state specific grants or sector specific grants. State specific will go to specific state to which the grant has been recommended, and sector specific relates to sectors like health, education, etc. That is the full extent. All the grants are given. That is, they come out of the central government's budget. Okay, so that is very important to understand, that whereas the devolution is out of a common pool of tax revenues, and therefore once decided that let's say under 15th Finance Commission 41% must go to the states, then that is states revenue. It's the right of the states. Grants are coming from the central government's budget. So there is a difference in that, and sometimes it has happened that the central government, whereas on the devolution, always the recommendations of this commission have been accepted and implemented, Occasionally, when it comes to grants, because they are coming from the central government's budget, there have been occasions when the central government did not release those grants, as you know, in the case of some of the grants that the 15th Finance Commission had recommended. So that is the rough mandate of the Finance Commission. Now, as a part of preparatory work, the Commission meets, carries out very wide-ranging consultation. It consults a large number of the ministries of the central government. It consults every single state, and our visit right now to Odisha is a part of that state government consultation. But going beyond that, we also have consulted at least 4 previous finance commissions, meaning the chairman and the any available members of those finance commissions. We have also consulted the experts in every single state. So we went to 4 or 5 different cities and then invited the states in the vicinity of that city. So that way we got experts from all the states who came and gave their views on how the Commission should carry out its mandate. We also try to consult the eminent persons. In general, we are open to anybody giving us any recommendations, any suggestions. So there is a website of the Commission where anyone, any citizen of India can send an email making certain recommendations. Okay. So today, as a part of that consultation process, we had a long meeting in the morning with the Chief Minister of Odisha and his government, and as a part of that, we had some remarks made by the Chief Secretary, some remarks, a speech delivered by the Chief Minister. We also then had a long presentation by the Principal Secretary of Finance, who is present here. This was a very impressive, very long presentation, bringing together both the economic development of the state of Odisha, but more importantly, focusing specifically on the finances of Odisha. Both the speech of the Chief Minister as well as the remarks, as well as the presentation by the Principal Secretary of Finance laid out what the state's expectations from this commission are, right? And in particular, I will describe the recommendations that they made to the 16th Finance Commission as to what recommendations should the 16th Finance Commission make to the President of India regarding the vertical and horizontal devolution. So on vertical devolution, the state's recommendation is that the cesses and surcharges, to which I alluded before, that cesses and surcharges currently levied by the central government go directly 100% to the budget of the central government. These cesses and surcharges are constitutionally not allowed to be shared with the states. So they are not part of the divisible pool. So state's plea was that these cesses and surcharges should be brought into the divisible pool so that the states can also benefit from the revenues that are collected as cesses and surcharges. That was one on vertical devolution. Second recommendation of the state was that the share of the states out of the divisible pool should be increased from 41% under 15th Finance Commission to 50% under the 16th Finance Commission. By the way, the award period of the 16th Finance Commission will be 2026-27 to 2030-31. Generally, each commission makes the recommendations for 5-year period. And then there is another Finance Commission appointed in the meantime, which then would make recommendations for years starting from 2031-32. The 15th, actually, because of COVID, had covered 6 instead of 5 years. So it gave 2 reports. One was for 1 year, the first year, and then the second report was for the 5 years, which will be ending in the year 2025-26. So our mandate will end on at the end of October of this year, 2025, so that we are supposed to make our recommendations to the President of India by that date. So that remember that in the end, whatever recommendations we make will contribute then to the budget of 2026-27. So both central government and the state governments have to be doing their budgets for the next year, 26-27, and so effectively we are very much bound by that requirement, and so must give our report to the President before the end of October 2025. So that was vertical devolution. On horizontal devolution, states made some recommendations also. So what I will do is to give you will give you a comparison of what the state has recommended with what the current practice is under the 15th Finance Commission. Right? So what happens is that this horizontal devolution, which is the division of the state's share in the divisible pool among the 28 states, is done on the basis of certain criteria. For example, under the 15th Commission, 15% of the divisible pool is distributed according to each state's share in the total population of India. So if a state has 5% share in the population of India, then 15% of the divisible pool is given to it on that basis, meaning 5% of the 15% of the divisible pool is then given to that state, and similarly for the other states. Similarly, area is another criterion that is commonly used. So once again, if a state has 3% share in the total share in the total area of India, then say under 15 that was 15%, 15% of, so 3% of the 15% goes to that state. Okay, so this is how it is done. So on population, 15th Finance Commission had said 15% weight should be given to population. The recommendation of Odisha on this is a slightly different one. What it said was that weight can be kept at 15%, but we should think of population a little differently. We should look at the share of vulnerable population, meaning SC, ST and old age. Old age defined as anybody who is 80 and older. That what is the share of, let's say, Odisha in India's total population of SC plus ST plus old age. So they are recommending, this is a very new thing that the state has recommended, that rather than use the entire population as the criterion, use the population of the vulnerable sections of the society. Okay. On area, again, the weight was reduced by, or the recommendation of Odisha is that instead of 15, only 5% weight should be given to population, and only 5% weight should be given anything related to area, and actually they defined the replace really area by the density of population. That instead of area, use density of population as the criterion and reduce the weight to 5%. Then forest and ecology, that had a weight of 10% in the 15th Finance Commission. The recommendation of Odisha is to replace forest and ecology by only forest cover, and the weight be kept at 10%, which is the same as in the 15th Finance Commission. Now, one very important criterion that several of the recent finance commissions have used for devolution, horizontal devolution, is called the income distance criterion. The weight was 45% under 15th, and Odisha's recommendation is also to keep it at 45%. Now, income distance, effectively what it tries to do is lower the per capita income of a state relative to the state with the highest per capita income, the more the share of that state in the divisible pool. So this particular criterion is used to do some sort of what is called the equalization. The philosophy being that every state should be able to provide at least a minimum level of public services to its citizens. And sometimes if a state is very poor, then its own revenue resources are very meager, and therefore it should be awarded a bit more to compensate for the gap that might exist, for the fact that using purely its own resources, it may not be able to provide that minimum level of the public services. So that weight is generally very high, and it's 45 both under the 15th Finance Commission and under the recommendations that Odisha government has made. Then a fifth criterion that the 15th Finance Commission had used was tax and fiscal effort by the state. This is a measure of how much revenue is the state raising on its own. So 15th had given 2.5% weight to that, but excuse me, the state of Odisha has said that instead of that, we should use a criterion called fiscal discipline. More disciplined is a state, more fiscally responsible is a state, higher the weight, the higher the devolution to it, and it recommends that as much as 15% of the divisible pool should be given on the basis of this fiscal discipline. And finally, last is a demographic performance variable, which is 15th Finance Commission used the total fertility rate, opposite, 1 divided by the total fertility rate as the criterion, and gave 12.5% weight to that criterion. And the Odisha government wants to keep that, but reduce the weight of that to 10%. So if you look at all the weights, 15% for modified population, 5% for population density, forest cover 10%, per capita income distance 45%, fiscal discipline 15%, demographic performance 10%. That will add up to 100. Then there was some discussion on issues of local body grants and disaster relief grants. That was more or less the broad discussion on the finances. We also in general discussed the very good performance that Odisha economy has exhibited over the last couple of decades, and the transformation that has gone through. We discussed a little bit about what more could Odisha do. Particularly one particular subject of discussion was urbanization, in which Odisha has been behind the rest of the country, and how Odisha could accelerate its rate of urbanization. The Chief Minister is obviously very development oriented, very forward looking, progressive. So as an economist, I gave some suggestion to him and to the government of Odisha. So that is the overall discussions we have had. We will now be meeting after this press conference the representatives of the local bodies, both rural and urban, and the representatives of trade and industry, and perhaps for political parties, and the representatives of political parties. So that will be our day's activity today.